Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello everybody at home and welcome to Houselights, House of McTiernan. This week we are discussing our last McTiernan film of the 90s, which is his second film to come out in 1999, and that is The 13th Warrior. I am joined as always as Warrior number 1, Darren Moser, Dr. Sci-Fi himself, and Warrior number 2, John Mills, aka Kessel Junkie. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, and I am, really confused because the original score for this podcast was thrown out in favor of somebody else's. So I don't know what's going on.
Just give me a second. I have to stare at both of your mouths for about another 2 minutes, 2:20 at the tops, and then I'm good. I'm good. No, this is. I will say, when they, I know this is, I'm not trying to jump ahead, but like when they mentioned the word fire snake, that triggered a memory. Fireworm. Yeah. Like, and then it made me think like, have I seen this movie? If so, like we're talking like 2% memory retention. Like it might as well be for the first time. So, but I'm excited to talk about this because apparently, again, I don't know when McTiernan had time to total location shoot an entire movie, because I doubt there's any sound stages in this whole movie. It seems very practical or in the field.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was for last week we kept wondering, how on earth,
how does he do it?
How does he do the Thomas Crown Affair and the 13th Warrior and release in 1 year, let alone less than a month after?
It was 21 days.
Yeah.
21 days.
You're going to compete with yourself, McTiernan.
Well, Here's the thing. This was all filmed in Canada on location 2 years before it was released.
Why was it stuck in editing hell, or like?
Yes,
what?
It was stuck in editing hell because this was recut and re-edited several times. And this during the test screenings.
Well,
no, during the test screenings, it was deemed "quote unquote" unwatchable.
Wow.
And so they hired Michael Crichton to do reshoots and re-edit the film. Yeah.
And
Wait,
Michael Crichton, the author?
Michael Crichton, the author,
and producer,
producer
of the film.
Okay.
Well, that's because of the
I'm getting production credit for all the work. Wow.
He was an uncredited director.
They pulled a Rogue One, is what you're saying.
They pulled that is exactly right.
Except for it sounds like after they had filmed the entire movie, though.
Yes. This was after they filmed the whole movie, had a score, and Michael Crichton heard the score and was like, and got Jerry Goldsmith to repeat a lot of his themes for it.
A fair number, but a Goldsmith score is, it's an old reliable, Goldsmith, and I always go back. To the 4 CD box set of the Star Wars trilogy scores, where they released expanded stuff for the first time back in the 1990s, and the liner notes being written by none other than Star Trek film legend Nicholas Meyer, where he went in depth about how important music is to film and how there's nothing more gutting as a director than getting there and the score is being laid and you're seeing your film and you're hearing the music and you think to yourself, this is completely wrong. Oh. Now I'm butchering. I'm using just recollection.
Why is that the intro that he put in describing the Star Wars music? Like that's
no. He was talking about how tremendous the scores were.
Okay,
and saying
unlike these movies, if it goes,
no, he didn't. He obviously didn't throw anything under the bus, but he was like, when you're a director, there's nothing more nerve wracking than being there for the first recording sessions because the score could be completely wrong.
Yeah,
and you can't do anything about it most times.
Look, guys, we got the Middle Eastern piano plays a couple notes when we need to know. We're talking about the Arab. We play the Norse music. The score writes itself, guys. It's really not that hard. I don't know. Add some bear noises. We're good.
Like when we're in Baghdad and it's like you see the desert, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is straight up his Mummy score.
It very much. I was very thinking Mummy a lot.
Yeah, look, you can either have it original or you can have it Tuesday, and they needed it Tuesday.
That is exactly right.
I think that is what happened.
That they reached out to him and said, like, "Hey, could you do this next Tuesday?" And he's like, yeah, let me just." He's just grabbing stuff off the shelf.
Okay. It's going to be like 80% Mummy, but as long as that 20% difference is in there, we can't get sued. Brilliant.
Like, I'm not going to get an Oscar for this, but I won't get sued.
Yeah.
He Elfmaned the score.
But yeah, that is what happened, and I didn't know that. Until I started looking into this in preparation for the podcast, and it just I mean, I kind of want to know what McTiernan thinks of this.
I kind of wish I had known that before watching, because honestly, not knowing that, nothing leaps out to me as this part feels tonally different, like a reshoot. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like it could have been all the cave stuff. I don't know. Like it could have been, they literally could have been like, oh yeah, they didn't even go to the cave in the story. And they had 2 fights at the fort and then it was done. I don't know. I don't know what the differences were.
Well, I'm only aware of 2 differences. Now, I'm not saying that there's only 2 differences.
Right.
I'm saying I'm only aware of 2. And those 2 are the mother that gets killed, that gets beheaded by Bullvine, was originally played by a much older actress. She looked like an old, feeble grandmother.
And people didn't like the old feeble grandmother being killed.
Yeah, and Crichton was like, maybe we shouldn't kill grandma on screen. And so they got a much younger actress who actually like fought back and everything like that.
And that makes sense. Like then you just have to recreate that cave, that little tiny part of the cave, and reshoot that
one section of the cave. Yeah, that's if you're going to change something.
That's
the
doable.
Other thing is actually a very big thing, is that Bullvine doesn't have a fight one-on-one with the lead warrior from the Wendels.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense, because I mean, maybe they made it in a change where they say like you kill the mother and you kill the lead warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could easily be a line that they added after the fact,
like 80 yard after the fact.
Because I can't imagine them saying that and then not showing that. That seems really not a good idea.
Right? Yeah. No, you would have had to do that, and that makes a lot of sense, because
that would be very unfulfilling.
Well, right. I mean, there's always the the aforementioned Nicholas Meyer. That was always one of the fights that he had, as I recall, with Paramount, was like the main villain and the main hero never encounter each other throughout that movie. And that's what makes it so anomalous, is usually it's necessary for the hero to face the villain. Actually, in Star Wars, they don't either. But
I mean, but I also get what they're saying by the fact that if you really think about the villains of this, they're very amorphous, unknown. Like even once we realize they're men, like we literally are never in the place of the villains. We don't know their motivation. We don't know anything. They are just a force of nature. Almost.
Oh, so when you say in the place, you mean like from their perspective?
Yeah, like we never hear a single bad guy talk. Like we don't know anything, which again might have contributed to the unwatchability. It's like, are these like they're just this side of like spirits and mysticism, like because that's what they think they are for part of it. But yeah, that's true. Thinking of them as the villain. But we have zero. It's just like, oh, they just kill people and we're on their land. I don't know. I don't know what is driving them. I don't need a super deep reason. It's just, now that I think about it, it is kind of weird to not have anything.
I saw it as kind of like the Borg, where it's just it's a force of nature, like it's a storm that you have to weather, that you have to get through. And that's kind of how I viewed it, where
like every couple decades they build up enough strength, because like they got a lot of horses, guys. Like they're a really powerful army. I don't know where they keep all those horses, but like,
man, I never thought about the horses.
Oh, I did. I It's like, where were the horses? But I'm like,
like
there's
in
a
the cliff face. No, like they're
There's a whole village outside the cave. It's like they're somewhere around there. Who knows?
Man, that's funny. No, I never once.
They got
did
like
I think
80,
about the horses.
100 horses. Like that's a lot. You need a lot of farmland to keep those horses. They ain't living in the caves.
Yeah, like where are the Wendell ranchers? So we talked about that. Like right off the bat, we talked about like that is how it happened 21 days after release of Thomas Crown Affair, is because McTiernan wasn't involved for a little less than 2 years. So now, Darren, was this the first time that you viewed this movie? Was in preparation for this podcast, or did you actually do it? Like you said that there was like
I said, I feel for all intents and purposes, this is the first time. Like okay. I do remember the line about the fire snake, worm, whatever it calls. It's a snake. It's worm above ground. And I vaguely remember like a tiny bit in the caves, but again, we're talking like 2% of the movie. So I didn't know what was going to happen next, what the story was going to progress. So for all intents and purposes, this was a first viewing. And again, just reading the byline, which felt very Netflixy. It felt very much like, meaning when they have the description that literally describes the first 10 minutes of the film, but not the actual film. And it was like, sent, what was it? He loved a woman that he couldn't have, and the king sent him off. Like that's the forward. That's barely the movie. That is like, why even talk about that? It has nothing to do with the whole overall story.
It could have just been he's the ambassador that goes to the north.
That's honestly, where it should have started.
I honestly have a feeling that the woman, that he falls in love with, that feels like reshoots too. Like if you really think about it, feels like it's just
give him a drive. That does,
yeah, because you open on the ship and then it rewinds for a tiny little bit and then it comes forward again to the ship, and it feels like that's a little bit of reorganization going on there.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That has to be,
which is also weird because that part doesn't even matter. Like you could literally start with, he's an ambassador for the North. Boom. Exactly. That's all the motivation I need. But why add that?
You could totally tell, like that could have been like a studio note when they're like, add in a little forlorn love, a little romance at the beginning because it's for the ladies. Like you could just see some idiot studio exec saying that.
Actually, I have a guess why. That would be the reason on why he doesn't stay with the woman at the end. Because why not just stay amongst these people? They've accepted you.
Well, but he's been banished because of that romance. So he's actually been cast out. He can't go back home. He's just going back to.
Kind of does at the end.
Well, he does go back home.
No,
We see him
at the end,
back in Baghdad.
But the thing is, he goes back to write the story, but he doesn't go back to specifically where he was, because I think the way that they're trying to imply it is that it's tied into one of the Arabian Nights tales or something like that. Like, it's that sort of like, little bit of truth in fiction sort of thing, because, this of course ties in with Beowulf and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, personally, I think that one of the neater parts of this is that Beowulf is it's a Norse story, and the version of it that I know that I encountered in high school had all of this stuff about glory to God, and the theory behind it, I don't know if they've since firmed it up or rejected it or something like that, was that basically somebody religious, a nun, or I think they said a nun when I was studying it, had put in the religious references at the beginning and the end so that they could, continue the story. It's like, hey, greater glory of God, as long as you mention it, the story's okay, sort of thing. I remember that very specifically as being taught as part of the curricula, but I was in high school a very long time ago. So if I'm mangling anything, but I remember.
Is this the story of Beowulf? Is that what this story is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never knew the story of Beowulf, so I didn't know that was.
It's supposed to be like the real, the quote unquote, this is the real thing that happened behind the legend sort of thing. right? that sort of thing. But I mean, like that's its framing device. But that was I remember when I learned Beowulf, like they pointed out the fact that the beginning and the end framing device, the writing style was very different and had a very specific focus on mentioning God that was absent from the rest of the tale. And so it's one of those things where it's like, hey, this is a good story, but we got to change the opening. It was their own version of the producer's notes for the 13th Warrior. So
did anyone get Robin Hood vibes, like the Kevin Costner version with Morgan Freeman?
No, because I actually like this movie. So
I meant as far as like Morgan Freeman is the man from another land, and like that overall arc. Obviously, very different story, but I got kind of similar vibes. But
no, I see what you're saying. And the thing is, I would, maybe this tips my hand or something like that. I would say that this story handles it somewhat better than the Kevin Costner Robin Hood does, like in terms of its historicity, if you will, and its respect for actual historical times, and framing it within them, sort of thing. So, I mean, for me, because I know that I'm going to get asked this question. I saw this in the movie theater with my brother the summer of 1999, because summer of 99 was magical with me and my brother. Like we reconnected in a big way. Like we saw Fight Club in the movie theater together. We saw episode 1 together. We never saw Matrix together, oddly enough. It was really weird. But we saw like so many other big releases that year together. And this was a movie where we saw the ad for it. And it was like from Michael Crichton and John McTiernan. We were like, well, I like chocolate and peanut butter. So yeah, I'm going to go see this. And we saw it, and we had low expectations. We're like, this looks like it's going to be fun. And I think because our expectations were so low, we came out of it. We were like, we were really wowed by how much more we liked it than we expected to. And I have carried that memory along for years as a result. And if I've revisited it since then, it was maybe once in the intervening years, because it sort of is one of those things where it's such a treasured memory. I didn't want to damage it in any way. So I was actually very nervous coming back to intentionally rewatch it for this. So it was nerve-wracking.
What about you, Tristan? Was this your first time watching 13th Warrior?
No, this is
the 13th time watching.
This is one of my favorite films from growing up. Like this was a family favorite. My mother and father saw it in the theater because they both really like Antonio Banderas, and so they were just like, hey, Zorro was awesome. Maybe this will be cool too. And
remind me, what year was Zorro? I'm trying to remember how close this was to Zorro. Right around the same time.
It feels like it. I'm gonna have John. Can you look that up for me?
Mm-hmm.
They really liked it, and I know I really liked it. And they came home, and they're like, yeah, this movie's awesome. Like this is really cool, but you can't see it in the movie theater just yet. And because I think I was like 13 at the time, and because
there's a lot of blood. Like
and like there's that scene
dismemberment and
yeah. John, what year was it?
Well, let's see here.
Was it 98?
I've never seen the Zorro movies, so it's the Mask of Zorro was the first one.
Yeah,
98.
So the year before. That makes sense, because right at that
John,
kind of
you really
peak.
should see the Mask of Zorro. Pretend that the second one doesn't exist, but you really should see it.
The Mask of Zorro is really good.
So it's like Die Hard. Pretend the second one doesn't exist. Got it.
You suck.
But yeah, I would say,
honestly,
it
like
really
it is a solid action movie.
Okay.
Banderas is like right at that peak of his.
This
he's
is
on
peak Banderas. Yeah.
Peak Banderas. Yes.
Got it. Cool.
So, like, I remember one time, and I've told this story, where my mom and dad went to go see Gladiator, which is an R-rated film, and they came home and said, okay, we're taking you to see Gladiator the very next day. And they did, because they're like, the violence in it wasn't that bad. And in this one, the violence was pretty, like, there was a lot of decapitation, there was dismemberment, everything like that. So they're like, we're going to wait until this is on video. And the moment it came out on video, my dad picked it up on VHS, and then we watched it, and he gave me the Riddell cut with his fast forward button.
Okay, I was trying to think. I'm like, well, what is the actual difference then of watching it 2 months later on? But that's true. A parent's cut, it does.
Yeah, it was a parent cut
a little bit. Yeah,
but we watched this all the time. Like whenever we couldn't think of something to watch, we just popped in the 13th
on a
Warrior.
rainy day.
Yeah, and my parents and I still text quotes from this movie to each other. Like just last week, my dad texted me, "Don't worry, little brother, there are more." And yeah, it's just like, so I have a lot of fond memories of this film, and this was the first time I watched it in a long time, and when I watched it just last night. And I thought I made my wife watch it before, but she didn't have any memory of it. And then as soon as it was over, I did that slow turn to the left, like, so what did you think? And she just kind of stared at me. She's like, it was okay, but just okay. But I don't want to say it because I know it's important to you. So it was probably a little worse than okay because she was being nice. But yeah, so this is an important film to me. Like I connected them with my family over this one. I have a lot of like really deep tinted nostalgia goggles on when it comes to this one.
One side note I want to make about the historicity thing is that the name of Omar Sharif's character is Melchizedek, and that ties into the biblical story. He's encountered, I believe, by Abraham walking up the mount. He has his own important Judeo-Christian tradition tied with the name, and it's not the most common name to be mentioned within that tradition. So that's why it sort of like jumps out, sort of thing. But speaking of Omar Sharif, he retired from acting because of this movie. So
because of this movie,
he actually, the exact quote from him is, after my small role in the 13th Warrior, I said to myself, let us stop this nonsense, these meal tickets that we do because it pays well. I thought, unless I find a stupendous film that I love and that makes me want to leave home to do, I will stop. Bad pictures are very humiliating. I was really sick. It is terrifying to have to do the dialogue from bad scripts, to face a director who does not know what he is doing in a film so bad that it is not even worth exploring. So we can safely say that Omar Sharif probably gave this less than 5 stars, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Drove him to civilian life.
Yeah, I don't understand why he took that so personally, though, because his role is very tiny, and it's in the first act. I mean,
so wait,
now here's what's interesting.
Is that his friend that's the translator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, this is the thing, though, is it possible that Omar Sharif saw one of those early cuts that was deemed unwatchable and said, oh, why did I do this? And just like was done, because he semi-retired. He didn't take another role apparently until 2003.
But why does it matter if you have such and you're Omar friggin' Sharif and you had such a small, what does it matter if, like, even though I really like this film, what does it matter if it's a stinker? Like what, like, it's not like his reputation is tarnished.
Yeah.
I don't know. But apparently that's just
Tell
how
me,
he felt.
John. Well, tell me what he's thinking.
Hold on. Give it. You know what? You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go call Omar. And I'm like, yo, what's up? Is he still? Well, hold on. Is he still alive? Does this joke fall flat because he's dead? I don't know. Yes, he died back in 2015. I was
going to say,
going to be pretty tough for me to get his opinion.
In 99, he was. Yeah, no, that's a good guy.
All right. Well, since we're talking about the casting. Let's keep going on the casting. What did you think about Antonio Banderas as Ibn, also known as Arab, and also known as Little Brother?
You know what, Darren? I'll let you go first. You go first.
No, I again, it's so close to Zorro time that like I had to kind of look at it a little sideways to be like, okay. Sure, he's got the sword, and I think I can buy this.
He's totally from the Middle East. Yeah,
yeah, sure, okay. But I enjoyed him. I think he did a fine job in this. I think he carried it. I think he carried it enough, and also a lot of the secondary characters were very enjoyable. And that I think is also important. You could have the best leading man, and if every other character you're just like, why are you on screen? That's really going to diminish it. But there were, and because a lot of those characters were their interaction with him and their brotherhood, and like, I never felt like I was inside the Norse circle, because we never really were, because all of our interactivity was with how they were relating to Antonio. And I think that worked really well. But no, I think he did a great, I love the horse scene where he's like, oh, it's not a horse of war from the north, but it can jump and it can go fast. I mean, he doesn't really, he uses it in that one scene to save the little girl, but
the dog could jump in that scene.
Yeah, the dog could jump. Yeah, I loved how they were all just men. They're just ragging on each other and insulting each other, like the entire, like that is the constant through the ages.
but see, what I also think is really interesting, and I'm not going to try to I'm not standing on any soapbox here or anything like that. But obviously, nowadays modern sensibilities would be, well, Antonio Banderas is not of Middle Eastern descent, so why would you cast him, sort of thing. But like, I don't. One of my favorite movies from the 80s is Highlander, and Sean Connery plays a 3,000-year-old Egyptian. Okay. And so it's like,
I thought he was a Spaniard.
Oh no, he came from the Spanish court, but he says that he's a 3,000-year-old Egyptian.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's just the living in the Spanish court was
he's
his
also a Russian. Like, it's just Sean Connery. No. It doesn't matter. You just
but that's the point. Is like, if it's not,
surprise, he's an actor. It does, as long as we can suspend the disbelief, we can be fine.
Intent matters. Like, this isn't.
Yes,
I don't consider this egregious.
If it was Sean Connery and he's like, let's believe he's from Baghdad, would be like,
I'm the Sultan of the Middle East.
Yeah, it's like, no,
that's an issue. But
he doesn't even say Middle East. He says Mid East.
Yeah, I know. Where's my paycheck? But I can. I think Antonio Banderas does a good job. And actually, speaking of what you're talking about, Darren, what I really think is unique and interesting, because I think that there's a narrative about movies released before the current era that has taken over. But what I've truly discovered watching it this time that I really enjoyed was that Antonio Banderas, that little brother and Melchizedek, they're the civilized ones. They show up at this place and they're horrified at how these people are. And the thing is, it's inverted from the way that, most people perceive older films being, right? It is the northern white people that are savages in a lot of, like, they're spitting in the same bowl.
In a bowl. Yeah, that's
my dad would always fast forward that part because he was so disgusted.
Right. I mean, even watching it this time, I was like, oh, geez. Oh, like, I can't. I mean, I couldn't possibly survive as a Norseman. Like, not at all. No, but like, and I think that's a really cool thing. Like, that's sort of like a hallmark, though, that I expect from something that has its origin in a Michael Crichton story, because the guy did his research and he was very committed to, even when it was fictional, he did his research. Like, even for Jurassic Park,
they're their own people. They're gonna act a certain way. It's not just white men. It's like, no, I felt like they had a culture and they had they were a people.
Yeah,
and they were Rohan. It felt like I was in Rohan, guys. Like, I mean,
their horses weren't as cool. I mean, definitely Little Brother had Shadowfax.
It did make me kind of think, though, budget-wise, like this versus something like Lord of the Rings, where, I mean, visually very similar, because obviously the Rohirrim are very strongly based off of, the horse people of the north. But it was Rohan. It was basically Rohan.
Yeah, but I mean,
low budget 90s Rohan.
I think that the casting was really good. I really liked this cast. I think that they showed up to work and they really gave good performances across the board.
I loved the Northmen. I loved all of the side characters that we got to know. Now, obviously, some of them, left, earlier than others. But I felt the ones that kind of stayed behind after that first battle, after where they were pretending to be asleep. I felt those that stay behind really, like, you knew who they were from the brief stints of personality that we got. Like, they were all really well defined. None of them were like, oh, this is the generic Northman number 2. No. This is generic Northman number 3.
Which is funny because they all got numbers at the beginning. So
that's true,
right?
He was Norseman number 3, but he made it count. Well, yeah, I like the Norseman who is like, I'm smart. I'm not going to stay in my watchtower because that's the first place the bad guys are going to attack. So I'm going to stay in the tree next to the watchtower. I'm like, oh, you are smart, sir. Like that actually is a good idea. And the one who wouldn't take off his plate armor because he's like, you're going to have to kiss me for it. And
yeah, that's a great line.
And the one who I think was kind of the lead that connected with Antonio was the fight against the tall redhead, where it's all just psychological. And it's like, I'm like, dude, you're getting your butt whipped, but yeah, he could kill him at a moment. And it's just, and again, it's like, it's just enough quote unquote politics and high level thinking to be like, okay, these are men, these are warriors. Like they know what's up. They're not just a soldier going off to fight a war. Like this is the age where you had to be smart or you weren't going to live very long.
Yes, very true. You had to be able to think strategically. It wasn't, or have lots of numbers like people who live in caves and have bear claws. So.
Speaking of him, his name was Herger. I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but like the guy who had the main connection with Antonio Banderas, like the shorter blonde guy.
The weight and measure is very, very Knight's Tale-ish kind of feel. Just his look.
He was my favorite character in the film. I thought he was fantastic. He was so charismatic. So, like he was so like when like how excited he was during battle when like the numbers were so against him, and then when right before they go underwater, he's like, if they don't follow us, we know it's too far to swim. It just dives down. And it's just like, that this guy loves life. And if he dies, he dies, and it's just
like, we'll know that, but we'll be dead, but it won't be, but we'll know we were right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love that he called him little brother. And that was one thing that I wished, like, if I could change something about the film at the very end. He says, goodbye, Arab. And then he says, goodbye, Northman. I was just like, no, call him little brother. Like, come on. Like, what? Don't call him Arab.
Well, I took that more as like a callback to... Well, no, but even beyond respect, like a callback to they knew how far they had come together in their relationship. Yeah. And so they went back to what they first called each other almost as a signal of like, look at how far we came.
It's true. It was a bookend. You are right. Like I could see the reasoning behind it. It's not like it came out of nowhere. It was just one of those things where I was like, no. Like I want to hear little brother. But at the same time, speaking of the end, something that I still haven't forgiven McTiernan, but now Crichton, I haven't forgiven Crichton, is there is no resolution with Olga, with the woman that he had a connection with.
Mm-hmm.
That hurts. Like they're not even like a nothing.
I mean, maybe again that was a add-on. Maybe that wasn't. That was, if you think about the number of shots that connect her to him, it's probably 5, 6, maybe.
I'm going to say. I'm
then
going to
have
say
a 7th
instead,
shot. Come on.
Okay.
No, I'm going to say instead that feels like something that got cut down. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to bet that probably the problem with McTiernan's cut, because considering this comes in at what, an hour and 38. And knowing McTiernan's propensity for like 2.5 hour movies, I'm willing to bet that there's like 45 minutes laying on the cutting room floor somewhere, and then
the third time the bear people attack, and then it's like you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm done with this.
Wouldn't it all be surprised? Yeah. And you have something where they looked at it and they said, sort of like Mission Impossible 2. Hey, Stuart Baird, is there anything you can do to help us out with this? Yeah, I can, but it's going to take a hot minute to sort of figure that one out, that sort of thing. Or again, Rogue One, where it's like, okay, there's something to work with here, but
I mean, even just give me like an insert shot when he's on the boat and she gave him some extra cow urine to go on the road, something like that.
Well, you need cow urine if you're going to make a long journey.
Now, I was confused in the very beginning when the king who had died was being burned. Because I know it's a different woman, but like they lifted up the woman and she's saying something. And then in the translation, they're like, she's going to ferry him across. And I'm like, are they burning the woman with the dead king?
Yes.
Is that what they did? Okay.
Yes.
That was the old ways.
And he's like, this is the last of the old ways. And because looking at and Banderas' face, I'm like, I think that's what's happening. Like, that's terrible. But
I'm willing to bet, knowing McTiernan as well, that probably some screams were cut at that moment too.
Yeah,
where, like,
I was gonna say,
where like the test audiences were like, "What's happening? No!"
Yeah.
It's like, let's just change the audio track on this one here, because they still needed to keep the low. I see
Low
my father.
there.
Low there is my father. Low there is my. They need to keep that in, but
I still get chills during that scene, like right before the Wendel's attack for the last time, and they cut between the warriors saying, "Low there, I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers."
But do you know how much I absolutely love the fact that he says, "Can you draw words and
sounds?"
Draw sounds, yes. And he says, "Can you draw sounds?" And he writes out in Arabic, "There is but one God, and Muhammad is his prophet." And there's no sort of like, what are you talking about? But then that becomes a callback at the end.
Yeah.
Where they say that to each other. And it's
like, you may have one God. We unfortunately need many. And it's like, that's it. That's all.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing of, this is my culture, this is your culture, and respect.
We don't have to fight over it.
Yeah. And
but we also don't need to bend and become the other person's
But at least we don't worship bears. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, those people are crazy. Yeah.
I mean,
but no, you're right. Like,
they decimated the bear population. All the bears are dead. There are so many dead bears. They are not coming back.
They're the ones that are taking care of the horses. But no, like I like what you said there, John, is that like neither has to bend to the other one. Like this is no Dances with Wolves or Avatar or anything like that where somebody goes native. It's like, no, they go, they work together, they know who they are, they know,
he makes his own sword. He doesn't try to fight with a Norse sword. It's not going to work.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And like there's a lighthearted jab, like, "Oh, when you're done with that, can I give that knife to my daughter?" And he laughs it off. And that's this is a movie about togetherness, guys. That's what it is.
It truly is. It truly is. And
men being men.
This is but the thing is, this is going to sound weird, but you guys know me well enough, and anybody who's heard me, podcasting knows me well enough to know.
I'm worried,
that,
John.
Yeah, you should be. What really works about this movie for me is that from the casting to the focus on just a really cool story instead of trying to be more high-minded about this or that or anything, this has the ring of the energy. Let me say it this way: the energy that I love when I watch exploitation movies. Right? It's the same sort of energy that Tarantino brings, where all that matters is that you're there to just throw this cool story, and the aforementioned Highlander, where it's not high art necessarily.
Don't think too much about it. Just enjoy.
They're not trying to make high art. They're just trying to make a good time, and there's no apologies for it. And I like that. And what I have to wonder, is it possible that McTiernan lost sight of that, and Crichton was the one who had to come in and say, "No, let's just make this a fun experience for everybody instead of trying to turn it into an epic." Right.
That's interesting, because that makes me think of Die Hard with a Vengeance, where he knew it was crazy. He knew that it was like the plot was tenuous, and he kind of leaned into it. He said, he's like, it doesn't hold together if you pull the thread, but hey, I hope you enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe he was saying that ironically, I don't know, but it's possible that like with what was originally supposed to be Eaters of the Dead, like they even made posters that said Eaters of the Dead, that he wanted to make it an epic.
But keep in mind also, because we've had the discussions through the 90s, when Die Hard with a Vengeance comes along, he needs a win at that point, like pretty bad. He needs that win. And so he's willing to just do what needs to be done. Maybe this one, he's like, okay, maybe this was headed down like a Last Action Hero Medicine Man sort of path. And the studio saw that happening and was like, no, we got to fix it, sort of thing, because they just sunk too much money into it by that point.
Yeah, I think it's like it had a budget of $85 million for shooting, an initial $85 million shooting budget, and in '99 that is, or in the mid to late '90s, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
and so then to have it balloon up to over 100 million. We have no idea what the actual number is.
Right.
Because like some people say it's 110, some people say it's 160. I severely doubt it's 160.
Well, the people saying it's 160 say that it went up to 100 million plus while McTiernan was still part of the production. And then when they brought Crichton in, it took, another 60 to basically rework it. That still seems pretty high. Maybe 40 million of that was, please, Michael Crichton, help us. And they just like drove a big dump truck. But I mean, think about it. He throws out the score. He needs a new score. That's going to cost you some money.
Mm-hmm.
Not 40 or 60 million dollars, but that's going to cost you money. Bringing people back.
I need a Mummy-esque score. So that's
right.
a little budget score.
But honestly, also with the fact that until that little bit in our discussion comes up, I can't tell. So obviously he brought back like the DP and he brought back all of the key pieces to make sure that it was undetectable, because I
wouldn't have known that there
right.
were major reshoots in this.
No, not at all. And that's the amazing thing. And that's because that's one of the things, and I know I keep going back to Rogue One, but there are parts of that where I'm like, oh, that was definitely a reshoot because it doesn't quite match up with the way
Solo.
things were framed.
I mean, Solo feels like a completely different movie in the pre-flashback portion when it's like young Han and Kira, and then it's like a completely different. I mean, it's obviously a different time, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know the only part that they left untouched was largely untouched was his part on Nimbin, because it had been such a grueling shoot. They were like,
we don't want to go back there.
We'll edit a little bit and keep moving. But
release the McTiernan cut.
Yeah.
No, we don't have time for that. It's
Listen,
too long.
Ayer cut comes first, then the McTiernan cut of 13th Warrior, and then we'll find a third one.
Well, you know what? I can live with that. I can live with that.
Yeah,
but that was an interesting point you made, though, Tristan, where McTiernan really needing a win with Die Hard with a Vengeance, because technically 13th Warrior is next. That's the next film he made, even though it was released after Thomas Crown Affair. So I'm wondering if 13th Warrior was that, okay, you got to win, John, like here's money and you get to make more of what you want to
make your epic. Yeah.
Yes. And it didn't really work, like it, just because they had massive rewrites and changes and fixes.
But I still think it's hysterical that this is John McTiernan working with Michael Crichton. Jurassic Park, based on Crichton's work, is what undid him with Last Action Hero. And so it's almost like he said, there's no way I can miss with this. This has got to be a win because I'm working with the guy that made my my Schwarzenegger movie blow up. Although, there were other problems with that, obviously, like we discussed. But like it's so odd. It's so weird that there is so much behind the scenes stuff with everything. And it's like, in a sense, I almost wish that we lived in an era where I couldn't find that stuff out again, because I didn't know any of that in 1999. All I knew was that I watched a movie that I enjoyed. And that was it. I
forgot to mention, I had, and it still is up, is the 13th Warrior movie poster in the basement of the house that I was raised in.
He's got the sword hilt in his hands.
Yeah, he's got the sword hilt off to the side, and
maybe
it's got
that's
like
also kind of hard. Just the name, like if you have really no idea what kind of story this is going to be.
Sure,
it's very ambiguous. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I don't know. You see the sword, you're like, okay, it's a period piece. It's a period action film.
Yeah.
Period action film. And
it's
there's
still better
be a
than
lot
the
of warriors.
title of Eaters of the Dead. I mean, that's
is that going to be the title? I thought that was going to be...
That was the McTiernan title.
Yeah.
It was straight from the book.
Eaters of the Dead is
I
really
thought that
hard
was going
sell.
to be like the byline, like in space, no one can hear you scream.
No. Eaters of the Dead is the name of the book.
That sounds like a crappy B movie. I'm sorry, that sounds terrible.
Yes, it does.
It's a horrible, horrible title. And
I mean, Bear
so
People of the Dead sounds better than that, and that is also a terrible title. But
yeah, Bear People Who Hurt You. There you go.
I mean, that's like a step above
a really
space
cool...
boobs in space.
That scene, though, after they had... I love the scene where they're ready for the first attack and they're pretending to sleep. Like, they're all ready and they're sleeping in the circle, and you realize, or Antonio realizes that oh no, they're awake. They're just snoring and pretending to be asleep. And then you have this ferocious fight. And then again, it's just on the edge of like fantasy where when they notice like all the bodies are gone. And I'm like, part of me knows like you kind of notice them taking off the bodies, but there's just enough disbelief where it's like, man, these guys are like, they know how to terrify people. Like that's a big part of their MO. Cause yeah, there's no bodies left. They're gone.
I also thought it was interesting how easy that dude's head got ripped off. And like, because nothing like, it was crazy because it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like his head just gets ripped off by these people. And my wife was just like, oh. It kind of took her off guard.
With scenes like that, I always think of a line from The Simpsons. Lise, if you don't watch the violence, you'll never become desensitized to it. And it's, that's essentially where I always go mentally.
So what is something like we've all kind of talked about what we like and what works. I mean, we're at the 45-minute mark. What doesn't work for you? Like I talked a little bit of what I wish could have been changed, but it wasn't so much what didn't work. It was just kind of personal preference. Is there anything that doesn't work for you guys?
Oh no, I definitely think that the way they frame the story could be done a lot cleaner. It's much better. Like if it opens up and you see Antonio Banderas with the 3 scars across his eye, and he's like, somebody's saying, well, what does, why do you have the scars on your eye? And he's like, well, I'll read you my poem. Like that being the lead into something instead of.
But then we'll know the lead character survives. Yeah. No, which I mean, we obviously knew was going to happen.
But I even like framing stories like that. And then you come back and it ends with him, and he's even a little emotional, thinking back to the time and how much he misses the Norsemen.
Yeah. Indy with the eye patch.
Yeah. And I think that that's
a much better framing than whatever they did before. Like I barely even remember it.
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It's a little bit choppy in the beginning. And I think that I would like a little more time to breathe. Just a couple more minutes, like an hour and 38 is just a little too quick. That reeks of a studio saying, okay, look, it's a mess. We've done what we can. We're going to release it at the end of August. And this is going to be our tax write-off this year.
Let's get as many showings in the day as we can.
It's going to run for 2 weeks, and we're just going to get it out there, and we're fine. That's all good. This is the summer Star Wars is coming out anyway, so who cares? So no, seriously, like, it's I think that a couple more minutes would help. I think that to your point that you said before, Darren, even having something where maybe Antonio Banderas, Ahmad, they're in the caves and he's listening and he's like, I can't quite get it. But I know he's saying this, something about this and something about, and that's what helps them get deeper into the cave. Right. Like leverage that thing that you've seen him do earlier in the movie. I think that's a better way to forward that. But
they are very lucky in their assault on the cave. Like luck goes their way many times.
Very much so. But I still think that is the way to push. But I mean, they obviously knew there were certain problems, because if it's true that Beowulf dies before he ever sees anybody, having him come out on the brink of death and saying, no, I'm gonna go out fighting, like that's a great ending. And so it's like, obviously there were certain things that they knew. But yeah, those would be sort of the things, those would have been the notes that I would have brought in. What about you, Darren?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the son of the king, the other kind of the lead Norseman, but the way he went out, like sitting there like a champ, was just awesome. Like, he literally went out swinging, and just kind of like what I said before, where I would have liked to have known a little bit more what's driving the bad guys. Just, it doesn't have to be super deep, but there could have, like you said, maybe where he's listening and the Norsemen founded on their, or settled on their ancestral home or something. I don't know. Like, or the bear god demands it. Something. I don't know. But it was just like, it started to be, things didn't quite add up because you had this massive cavalry driven army, which was kind of weird. And then you also had this like mysticism of, oh, my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather fought the worm. And I'm like, okay. And then they just decided not to attack for like 3 generations. Like, did you wipe out enough of their population and now they're big enough to come back? Like it, I like it when mythology has a root in something practical. And again, this is like a nitpick. It wasn't required to understand the story, but until you guys mentioned it, I was like, yeah, we actually don't know. They are literally just the black hat wearing bad guys. Like I said, almost a force of nature versus actual people. But overall, if you can get by him learning the language in 5 minutes without a, Rosetta Stone.
I didn't think that was 5 minutes. I thought it took him. Took him time.
There was a lot of
several nights.
Okay.
As South Park might say, montage.
Okay, that was a montage. I didn't catch. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. I didn't catch that it was multiple nights. It felt like one night he decided to stare at their mouths, and after enough talk without any context.
And one night it was raining, and one night they were closer to the shrubs.
It rained a lot. I didn't notice that, but yeah, no, that's
I think
true.
it was like, no, we're traveling
their
a
journey.
long time. Yeah,
got it.
But that would have been interesting, like if they showed that he didn't, like, obviously he didn't learn every single word, and there was a few times later in the film where he's just like, oh, that's a proper noun, I have no idea what just happened. One thing for me that I wish they did or wish they changed was the king's son storyline, that B plot. That I wish they fleshed out more, because it always seemed a little confusing to me, because when I was a kid and I watched it, I was just like, I don't quite understand why they had to kill the redhead and why they made an example of him. Because that whole scenario of, well, like, now he has to account for what he doesn't see. And just like, okay. Like, like my wife asked me, like, so why did they do that? And all I said was, the king's son thought that they were there to take the throne, and now they're saying, don't mess with me. Like, don't mess with us. Like, that's all that I could kind of boil it down to. But I wish that they fleshed it out a little bit more.
Yeah,
and maybe
and
that's
we never
where they
really
let
see
it
the
breathe.
king's son ever again. Like, I never call him out in any of the fights. So
not after that.
It's a weird.
He ran away.
Sideline.
He was
maybe
done.
That was part of the, like, maybe there's more on the cutting room floor. Like maybe that, and they just had to trim it down.
Heck, I would have gone for a scene where the king's son was in a secret alliance with the bear people and trying to wipe out his, I don't know, something like. But
well, I mean, you compress that if it's just the king's son that he's fighting against, and then the king is like, oh, well, normally I'd get rid of you guys, but I kind of need you, so okay, we'll deal with this later, sort of thing. Yeah, so, but obviously that's a lot tougher to reshoot that than anything else that they insert. So,
All right. Well, before we give our ratings and our final thoughts on the film, you can go to thenerdputty.com and find out more. You can go and find out all of our backlogged episodes by going to thenerdputty.com/houselights. You can also figure out how to contact us by going to thenerdputty.com/contact. Select Houselights, fill out the form, send us an email. Maybe you have an idea of which director you would like us to do next, or whomever. We get a lot of great suggestions, and I may not write back to everybody, but just know that you are heard and that we do write down every single suggestion that you guys give us. So if you're listening to us and you've written to us, you have been heard and you have been written down. And also, if you want to find us personally and all the other shows that we're on, you can go to thenerdputty.com/hosts, and we have links to everything that we do there. John, where can we find you on the internet?
Look for Castle Junkie. I'm on your social network of choice. I squat on the name everywhere that I can think of to do it, even on places where I don't go. But let's connect over on Letterboxd. Castle Junkie.
Castle Junkie. Darren, how about you?
And then go to drsci-fi.com, DRSCIFI, and find all of my creations, podcasts, and troops.
And I am the Insane Robin on Twitter and Letterboxd. So find me there, and some other shows on the network that I'm very proud of. Okay, so, John, I'm going to talk to you first.
Yes.
Final rating, final thoughts.
Okay. I'm so conflicted about what final rating to give it because my heart goes one way. This is an eminently rewatchable movie. I haven't revisited it in a very long time, and I rewatched it, and I was so pleased that it didn't ruin the memory. That I was like, yes, okay, I can still treasure this movie and what it means to me. I also recognize its shortcomings. We've all talked about them. I know that this is not high art. I know that this is occupying a spot where it just speaks a lot to the emotional side of me and the type of stuff that I like to put on and just, this is a movie where I'm going to unplug and just have a time. And those are great movies that I really enjoy. And I know it's going to make me be so much more generous.
My God.
So much more generous.
I'm on the edge of my seat, John.
Caveat of a caveat of a caveat.
And this is the thing is I don't know until I utter until I utter the rating where it's going to end up. But I recently rewatched Highlander, and I gave that a 4. And I openly acknowledge that nostalgia has a lot to do with that, and I'm going to have to give this a 4 because of the fact. It's a 3.
Give it a 4, John.
It's
Own
a 3.5, but I'm giving it a 4 because this is a movie where I can foresee a future where I just sit down and I'm like, I don't really want to pay attention. 13th Warrior, and just put it on there and just watch it go. And so I'm going to come in at a 4. Please don't be rough on me, everybody. This is a 4 for me.
All right, Darren.
Yeah, again, just having not watched this for all intents and purposes ever, and then not knowing it was Beowulf, at least I rewatched to kind of pick up the pieces of that. But no, I think it's a fine film. I think, again, it's a 90s film. It's practical. It's like, I'm actually trying to think if there's really any effects except for maybe like the rain machine, I'm sure it had, falling on pads and stuff like that, but it's a very practical movie.
The horse jumping over the larger horse was...
Well, I'm sure he jumped on a springboard or something, but yes.
Well, no,
I'm sure...
it was composited.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there are effects, but we're talking about maybe a dozen or two at most.
Yeah.
It's very in camera, in real, which I'm sure was expensive. He didn't learn anything from Medicine Man. But this is fun. It again, I'd almost just watch it again just to absorb more of the background characters and like the other 13 and the other 12 and just, be like, oh, I know you died too soon, but what was your, because they all get moments. They all get great little side stories, and I'm going to agree with John. I'm going to give this a 4 as well. We're going to end McTiernan.
Yes.
We're going to end McTiernan.
I kind of got a vibe from you at the beginning, like you were, okay, cool.
Yes. Now, granted, the 2 movies I watched before this were like Demolition Man and Pacific Rim, so I'm just riding high on
both 4s. Both 4s.
Yes, both 4s. Right.
One of those is a 4.
What is a guilty 4 and what is a solid 4?
We are. Okay, Darren, I agree with guilty 4 and a solid 4.
And you know which one is which.
I sure do. I do.
Just to be clear, so there's no ambiguity, I think Demolition Man is a way better film than Pacific Rim.
Demolition Man, just as going down the rabbit hole really quick.
That's why I had to watch it.
Boy, howdy is it. But that was a movie that I didn't like until I watched it when I was drunk one time. And then after that, I was like, I love this movie.
I'm getting some Taco Bell.
We're going to go to Taco Bell.
So, okay, my turn.
Yes.
So I'm going to take a page from John's book.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to talk about the history of film first.
You have a couple of caveats in there.
And then I'm going to talk about where I grew up and how I feel as a person.
You already told us you love this movie and you watch it with your father like every other year.
But no, I need to give caveats about how I feel as an individual, as a father, a husband.
Backstory is important.
And what is a star rating anyway? And
how many points on that star? Are there 5 points on the star or 5
invented
points on the star?
Who
Oh my
invented the
God,
word
is that
star?
why it's a 5-star rating? Because there's 5 points on a star.
We're getting deep, man. We are pulling back. This is some
Bring it
really
back, Tristan. Bring it back.
It's
Give us a
Illuminati
number.
level stuff. That's what it is.
Okay, so I unabashedly give this a 4-star rating.
Yes.
Unabashedly. No, I think this is a great film. And I mean, yeah, it has shortcomings, but I don't give a crap because I am 4-star leveled entertained.
It's very entertaining.
And this is such an entertaining film. And I hate that it has such a stink on it. And that Omar Sharif
retired from it.
Omar Sharif, who was also in Top Secret, which is not high art.
That's saying something, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, one thing that really bothers me is that, like, when I watch this film, is that because this movie has so much stink on it, is that we're never going to get a proper Blu-ray release. We're never going to get a proper high definition transfer because this.
Who knows? We could get
garbage.
A Blu-ray better. Yeah. We could get a Blu-ray for this sooner than we get one for The Abyss. I mean, I'm just calling it right now because he is taking his time.
But at least there's a high definition version that does exist that they show on Cinemax, like of The Abyss. But with this one, the HD transfer that you buy off of iTunes looks like kind of an up-res DVD.
Yep.
And as I was watching it, I realized, oh crap, they're missing a few frames between reel changes. Like you can see that. Like between like reel 1, not act 1 and act 2, reel 1, reel 2, reel 3, reel 4. Like you can see that, and I'm just like, oh God, like this needs a remaster, and we're never gonna get one. And maybe we need to email Arrow, and maybe they'll pick it up. But it makes me sad. But no, this is I unabashedly, with no caveats, say this is a 4-star film. I love this movie. The poster's on the wall. I have it. I have this script memorized. No, this is great. This is one of maybe my top 25 film. Like this is a top 25 film for me. Nice. I friggin' love it. So
it's one of the best in 1999.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's also quotable. And I think a lot of what makes a good movie is it quotable. Some movies are okay, but you can't remember a single line from them. And it's like, that kind of takes it down a notch. But
I also just now remembered that I stole a moment from this in one of my student films. I stole a moment from this film in one of my student films, like
when they ripped the head off.
No, when Antonio is on his horse and he's going slowly, and Olga's on the ground walking past him and just gives a light touch on his boot. That is such a beautiful moment. I love that moment so much, and I stole that where like there's like a man is sitting down and he can't look at the woman that he loves, but as she's walking by him, she grazes his arm. Total ripoff from the 13th Warrior.
But you're right. Beautiful moment. Beautiful moment.
That's probably one of like, I remember like every time I watch this with my parents, my mom and dad would go, oh, yeah, that's all it takes. They would say like unironically, completely unironically, just like, yeah, that's love. It's just like one of those moments. So, all right.
Well,
Jaren,
one thing I'll say on that Gray's part though, because you feel that moment because this is a time when people didn't touch other people like that. When you touch someone, you were killing them. Like that was it. So yeah, it said so much of like, she didn't even turn around. She's like, you're probably riding off to your death, but I want you to know, we shared a moment. And yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That scene.
No. Darren, can you talk about what we're going to be doing next week?
Next week, we are going into the 80s with a lot of films. We're talking about how fast McTiernan was cranking these out. We are going to be talking about John Hughes in the 80s, starting with 16 Candles from 1984.
So please tune in next week. Thank you so much for entering the House of McTiernan, and please join us next week as we enter the House of Hughes.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.